theme for 2023 is Living Out Loud. The theme for August is My Passion, My Purpose. And today's topic is Perfectly Imperfect Passions. Ernest Holmes gives us the context of the spiritual universe in which we live. If the spiritual universe were not perfect, it could not exist for a single moment. The truth is indivisible and whole. God is complete and perfect. And CSL minister Reverend Scott Aubrey clarifies the perfect part imperfection plays in creation. Imperfection is not a sign of the absence of God. It is the evidence of an ongoing creative process which includes both perfection and imperfection. Let us affirm together with passion. I am a spiritual being living my perfect human experience. Now I'd like to bring Reverend Dr. Kathleen.
Oh, great. What a topic, right? Perfectly imperfect. So this month has run kind of like this. We've been talking about my passion, my purpose. We first began by identifying our passions by noticing what we love. What is it that we love to do and be? And next we moved on to encouraging all of you and me to let Spirit show us how to use our passions in order to fulfill our purpose. And if you remember Green Mary, the Green Mary Company, started by a woman by the name of Mary, who turned her passions for events, loving to attend events, musical events, and for her love of the earth into a purpose. Passions into a purpose. That purpose which was recycling, a huge recycling business that goes into events and assures that everything is recycled properly and repurposed properly so that there is no waste whatsoever. So the beautiful thing of that is, I love those stories because they really make an impression in my mind on this idea of how passion and purpose, when it lines up in our lives, how much more powerful we are in contributing our gifts and our talents. So today is about recognizing the value and the purpose of our perceived imperfections and flaws. And they have a value and a purpose in not only fulfilling our passion and purpose, but they also have a purpose in being catalysts for our conscious evolution, for growing, expanding, and unfolding in consciousness. So the three things that I wanted to cover today to help to root into this idea of seeing imperfections a little differently is that step one, seeing imperfections as aspects of our divine uniqueness. Step two, stepping outside our comfort zone and following our passion, even when we feel like we might not have it all together. And the third one is allowing your imperfection to be used by the spirit of love to create beauty. You ready? Okay, let's get started. I want to start with a story. It's a story that many of you have heard before, and it's such a great one to really connect into this idea of seeing imperfections as aspects of our divine uniqueness. It's a story that takes place in India, where a water bearer each and every day has a pole that goes over his shoulders, and there's a water pot on one side and a water pot on the other side. The one side has a crack in it, and the other side is whole. And so as he's walking each and every day to the stream from his master's house, he fills up the two pots, and on the way back, water drips out of the one pot. And when they get there, what happens is that the one pot with the crack is half full and the other one is full. And so this goes on for 2 years. And the cracked pot, we're going to animate the cracked pot here, the cracked pot is noticing this and feeling more and more frustrated and more ashamed of its imperfection, of its crack. And so it decides the next time they're down at the water stream or the stream, he's going to talk to the water bearer and just share how he feels. So he says, I'm so ashamed of myself. I want to apologize to you for leaking water each and every day and not being of full value to you and to the master. And so the water bearer, feeling compassion for the pot, said, as we return to the master's house, I want you to notice all the flowers on your side and the absence of flowers on the other side where the other pot is. So all the way back, he notices all of the flowers. And then when he gets there, there's another little conversation that goes on, and he says, I took advantage of your flaw, your crack, as an opportunity that I planted a whole bunch of flower seeds, as an opportunity to water those flower seeds, and those flowers graced the table and the home of the master for 2 years. Yeah, take it in. I love stories like this because they remind us that those things, this one in particular, that like the cracked pot, we have things that we might call flaws or imperfections that the Spirit can use for good, as a blessing, not only for ourselves, but for others. And that's for you to contemplate on your own, like what is it, flaws that I think I see in myself. How can the Spirit use these for good? Maybe I can just turn it over and just let it, just consciously turn it over to be used for good. So in the great economy that we call God or Spirit, the universe, whatever word you want to use for this presence, in this great economy, there is no waste. So you might think there is, but it's an attitude, it's a perspective that really helps you shift and move into what we call self-acceptance, which means accepting the wholeness of who we are. And yes, our imperfections are part of the wholeness. And that takes courage. I get that, and that takes a willingness to see things differently. But believe me, it is your ticket to freedom. To let go of all the time and energy spent trying to fix those things that you think are imperfections, and instead embrace them and see how they might be used. So it begins by when you hear the call to move forward with your passion and move forward into a greater purpose. It means that you acknowledge and accept your flaws, and then you let the Spirit within use you. There's a beautiful quote that I love to use, and it was something that I've used here many times and got me through ministerial training, is that God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called. So if you have a passion and you feel yourself being drawn in a certain direction for your purpose, then believe me, you will be qualified. You will be guided, directed, and supported in your unfolding and in your evolutionary process. So when we say God is whole, perfect, and complete, we are including contrast and imperfections in that. And it is a perfect design when you think about it, because think of everybody was just what we call perfect, whatever perfect is. If everybody was the same, how exciting would that be? How interesting would that be if everybody was the same and met this so-called standard of perfection and everybody was alike in uniform and everything? Anybody, have you ever considered that? I know, I'm seeing people making faces. So our uniqueness, which includes things that we might call flaws or imperfections, is all part of what makes us interesting. So have I convinced you yet to embrace all those aspects of yourself? Good. All right. So all of this then serves also something called the creative process. Because as we find ourselves discontented with certain things, it encourages us to do the inner work and release the false beliefs that get in the way so that we can shine our light and show up as our perfectly imperfect human selves in service to the greater good, creating beauty. That's part of the creative process. So number 2 is step out of your comfort zone and follow your passions. And Jim Carrey is a great example of this. When he was growing up, he had a natural talent for entertaining people. And his parents would invite people over, and he would come out and entertain them and get them to laugh. He loved making people laugh. So he was reflecting on it. And this is what he said. He said, so many of us choose our path out of fear, disguised as practicality. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. So he stayed in his comfort zone and got a job as an accountant. Carrie said, when I was 12 years old, my father was let go from his safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. He said, I learned a great lesson from observing my father, that you could fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. Wow, following your passion. So when we step out of our comfort zone and follow our passion, we are opening ourselves to growth, expansion, and unfoldment. And then doing what we love as well. So we may recognize that we are here to do this despite how it looks to others. So we may have others like saying, you know what, you better have a plan B, or, you know, this is more practical, or whatever it is. But it's important that we continue to listen within and follow that which is ours to do, because each unique expression that we are is a vital part of the whole big picture of what is being co-created here on the planet. And yes, when we step out of our comfort zone, we will bump into every limiting belief that stands in the way, and it can be uncomfortable for a while, but that's what we're here to do. We're not here to just get into our little corner and just, hide and hopefully nobody will see us. We're here to express and shine and be the glory of the divine that we are meant to be. So our spiritual teachings are open at the top, and I love that about Science of Mind. And I think Ernest Holmes would just be thrilled with all of the new discoveries that are coming out in neuroscience. He was really into, philosophy, the new sciences, and all of that, and incorporated it into his teachings, and they're still very strong in their foundation. And in neuroscience, Mark Waldman, who is anybody know who Mark Waldman is? A leading neuroscientist. I get his newsletters all the time. He is on the faculty of Loyola Marymount University. Anybody hear of that? I mean, that's a local one. And he's also on the faculty of Holmes Institute. And Holmes Institute, by the way, is the university part of Centers for Spiritual Living where you can get advanced degrees, including ministerial training. So he's on the faculty there. All the leading edge neuroscience, really important as part of the inner work that we do to release limiting beliefs and to shine our light. So here's the thing. We humans are hardwired for survival. That's the fight or flight or freeze response that we get when we bump into something that creates, whatever we're seeing as danger, and that all the cortisol and everything, adrenaline rushes in, and we're in this state in which we're in such an emotional state that we can't access. It's very difficult to access the areas of the brain that support us in clear thinking. So knowing this, there are some things that we can do, and we've learned many things along the way. Breathing, slowing down our breath, breathing, touching in. We've learned to use spiritual mind treatment, which is a very powerful form of prayer that brings us back to center and reminds us of who we are and whose we are, and the incredible power that we wield through our thoughts and our words. And there's some interesting stuff that has been fairly recent in discovery in the whole neuroscience field. And I encourage you, if you're interested in diving deeper into this, to look up Mark Waldman and get his newsletters, because he sends out newsletters and he shares very freely what all of these things are. And he's developed some spiritual practice methods to support this releasing process. So let's begin by realizing that beliefs are simply thoughts that keep repeating to the point where we've kind of decided, oh, that's the way things must be. But these limiting beliefs, when they're limiting and they limit us from moving forward with our lives, then we know that's something to address. So let's do that now. I'm going to be sharing with you his particular method. And it takes only 2 minutes, which is great. And he encourages you to do it multiple times throughout the day, especially when you notice yourself getting agitated, which means you're in fight or flight. So let's close our eyes and let's yawn and stretch first. And this is part of neuroscience, yawning and stretching. It opens us up to receive. And then close your eyes when you're ready. So I'm now going to give you 60 seconds to think about what gets in the way of fully living your passionate purpose. What do you think is getting in the way? Observe your thoughts and your feelings as they rise and fall without trying to change them. You're just going to watch and observe. Think about what gets in the way of living your full passionate purpose. Okay, yawn and stretch. Open your eyes. And now this is it. This is a very healing part as well. Look around the room and notice every little detail that you see. Like I'm looking at the beautiful orange flowers in the purple vase. And actually describe it to yourself. And I'm noticing up on the altar a beautiful blue vase with multiple colors, purple, orange, some seashells up there. So just give yourself 60 seconds to do that. Talk to yourself in your mind about what you see. And maybe what you hear, what is it that you're hearing as well? Okay, so what you've done in that very short period of time is dissolved the patterns that are being held in place, have been held in place. You're dissolving those patterns. So each time you do this, you first focus on the thing that's disturbing you as an observer, almost like a scientist. Oh, isn't this interesting? I'm having this thought and I'm having this emotion following that thought. And how, and you're noticing all of that. And then the next piece again is just simply coming into the present moment and noticing everything around you. Very short period of time, but it's shown scientifically to dissolve those false beliefs, those limiting beliefs. The final thing I wanted to talk about, so that's stepping out of your comfort zone, following your passion, and then that's something to do the inner work so you can keep moving in that direction. The last is allow your imperfection to be used by love to create beauty. And a beautiful metaphor for this is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery called kintsugi. What they do is when a piece of pottery breaks, they put it back together with gold or silver. Gold or silver lacquer, I think is what it says. And so what they do in the process is celebrate how joining the broken pieces back together creates another form of beauty. It's a time of celebration of the beauty of the pot and the new creation. Think about that, how the universe delights in expressing itself in, through, and as you. We're all individualizations of that one universal mind, creative presence, and as such, that there's this continued, ongoing inner urge to express and to create that which is within you, to offer it to the planet. We have so many gifts and talents that are latent and undiscovered. That's what I've learned over the years. And so as a result, when we look at our imperfections as something that love can be that lacquer, that gold, that love can help to knit together into this beautiful creation. We're giving our minds a new perspective on how it all works. It takes away the fear. It takes away that fight or flight response. And it gives us the courage to step forward as we are right here and right now, moving in the direction of our dreams. Courage, strength, determination, faith, and trust, all rolled up into one just by simply seeing ourselves as perfectly imperfect, divine humans. Let's turn within. And so I give my thanks for this clarity and this awareness of how perfectly designed the one life, the one source, and the one presence, and the one power is. For it is omnipresence, it is omnipotence, it is omniscience, present everywhere in its fullness, as beauty, as love, as peace, as joy, as enthusiasm, as all of those things that we called out today when we decided to co-create the service together. Everything available for good. It's already here right within us. The fullness of that divine at the non-local level, the invisible level, ready and waiting to move forward into greater expression in, through, and as us. So I'm claiming and knowing that there is greater clarity in each and every person here today, that what we have judged as imperfection up until now are the very things that are being used to create beauty in the world. And so I just give my thanks for this awareness of who we are in truth and whose we are in truth. This awareness that we have vast and amazing creative powers available to us, and so it's just behooves us to get our bloated nothingness, all of those limiting beliefs out of the way, so that we may shine our light more brightly than ever before. So with a grateful heart, I accept these words as truth. I offer them now into the creative medium, the soil of universal mind, planting those seed thoughts. And I am so full of faith and trust that those thoughts, those ideas, these words of truth are growing, sprouting, blossoming in, through, and as each one of us right here, right now. I'm so grateful for this truth. I let it be, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.